Welcome to the Alkalign Lifestyle podcast, where we delve into the essence of living a bioelectric life through mind, body, and spirit alignment. Join us as we explore the transformative power of a plant-based diet, cellular cleansing, chakra alignment, meditation, and intentional living. Discover how raising the vibration of your cells can lead to infinite health and well-being. Our episodes cover topics ranging from nutrition and mental health to stress management and healthy movement and relationships. Get ready to embark on a journey towards becoming the greatest version of yourself with insights from our master chef, Drea Anoka, holistic health guru, Fidelis Anoka II, and special guests. Tune in to elevate your consciousness and embrace the alkalign lifestyle.
Okay.
Welcome to episode number 3.
Three.
We did it consecutively too.
3, yeah.
Right? That's amazing. So today's topic is a little bit controversial and very subject sensitive, but I think it warrants a conversation because it is so heavy and so prevalent in relationships, I think, and in people's lives in the collective. And I think it's worth talking about mental health and how it, can impact relationships and how it's impacted our relationship, and just how we can kind of navigate that better individually and as couples, because this has been a big player for us.
Yeah.
And so this actually sparked because I told you a story.
You can tell the story.
And so the story is that, I've struggled with my mental health for most of my life. And when I was 16, I was diagnosed with severe depression, social anxiety, and eating disorder. And I was put on medications, and I was medicated for about 10 years. I attempted suicide, and this was at about the 9-month mark of us dating.
Mm-hmm.
And you rushed me to the hospital upon finding out that I had downed a bottle of Adlerian because I was inebriated and really just looking for attention for the pain that I was suffering in my own head. And years later, about 8 years ago, I actually got off medications, and I did this not under the guidance of any medical professional, and I navigated the plane of my mental health really pretty independently, and of course with your help as well. And you've always been an intuitive person to be able to pick up on when things are not going great. Things and tools and resources that can be of help to me, and they admittedly have been. And sometimes I feel like you're almost fighting a demon at times, because it can be such a dominant thing in somebody's mind when they are really feeling the blues. And so I told you the story that I have, in several occasions, I have gone through the visualization almost like somebody would daydream of suicidal ideations and allowing it to play out in my head, not actually acting on anything, but allowing myself the space to freely experience what it would be like to go down that path and that journey, and how it would impact the people around me and how it would impact me. And ultimately, I would say, as embarrassing it can feel to talk about it, it's honestly been a lifesaver for me not to do it. Because something that I talked with Fidelis about prior was allowing people's greatest fetishes and desires to play out during self-masturbation, or even in one-on-one intimacy. And a lot of people will suppress that, and the more that you suppress, you repress, and then it manifests into something really life-threatening because we're suppressing energy. And so I think people in both realms, whether it's, through pleasure and those visualizations and fantasies and things, or whether it's like the fantasy of you actually like what you think is solving your problem and it's not going to solve a problem, but it's almost like that energy has to be expressed out. And I think for me, by allowing myself to go through it, it's allowed me to come out on the other end to see that it's not going to solve my problem. People are going to be in pain. How many people do you think that don't care that actually do care? And that comes up in the visualizations. And it's like allowed me to really fully feel the pain of it without going through it, and allowed me to see that I have something to live for. I have things to offer the world. I do want to be here. I think that the most painful thing is actually thinking about and like feeling as best you can the pain that others might go through based off of your decisions. And that has stopped me. And so I shared that with you, and it was very scary to talk about. It was actually really embarrassing, but it was very freeing to be able to open up and discuss that, because I'm thinking this as you are laying next to me in bed and drifting off to sleep, and I'm over here like crying on the other side of the bed, thinking and like imagining this scenario. And it left me waking up the next day actually with a responsibility to talk about this subject, because I think there are so many people that are actually going through it and they don't even want to speak on it, because we are all an extension of one another. So it's not uncommon that somebody in their world is struggling with suicidal thoughts or just depressed thoughts or anxious thoughts. There are many people dealing with that as well. And I think the more that we can talk about this stigmatized thing, the less stigmatized it becomes, and becomes not normal, but it becomes, not the elephant in the room. And we can actually shed light and actually help navigate people through it. So I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts about what was expressed to you, what I expressed to you, and where you kind of land, because you've never really struggled with it in the way that I have. At least that's what we've discussed. And so for somebody who hasn't gone down that that struggle path with their mental health, how is it to be in that space when you have somebody who has experienced mental health struggles?
Well, okay. Being that, I think I did a recording, I think I did a video post on my TikTok page about this last year or something. My mom, my best friend, yourself, and my sister. My mom from 20 years ago, my sister from, I think it was 2008 or 9, I think. Yourself, 2013, and on and off, whenever you speak of, my best friend, 2008. All of, somehow, y'all have found yourselves in a position of not wanting to be here. I mean, my friend Lily, it was accidental, but I don't think anything is accidental. But after I found out later, it wasn't really accidental in that regard. But yeah, he found himself with a gunshot wound, self-inflicted, to which he was okay afterwards. But, you found yourself in a hospital, getting your stomach pumped. My sister found herself, on a suicide watch. My mom found herself in a psych ward as well. And I only can look outside. It's like a glass box. So I can't actually do anything. I can just look at y'all almost like specimens, like an experiment,
Mm.
because I don't know what else to do. So I have to figure out what are if there's patterns associated with it, patterns of thought, patterns of thinking, patterns of speech, so I can see if there'll be a next time, how to navigate the circle. Because it had to begin somewhere and it ended there. So when I get the stories, first of all, I don't have any judgment because it's not up to me to have judgment. And I also believe that's probably the biggest thing why people don't say anything. Is because of judgment and also because of fear from the outside. If you don't have any fear from the outside, you can express, you can freely do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, feel however you want, but many people don't do this process because they have to ask for permission from someone from the outside. But you don't need permission from anyone from the outside. And that's where I believe that's the first part that causes this whole thing is permission. You have permission because the counselor, okay, so I believe there's one counselor. You can go to your therapist and fine, but your therapist has to get the information from the counselor too, which everyone's connected to. The only thing is that some people can't hear the counselor. They can only hear the outside. I can't hear the outside because I don't respect the outside. I respect only the counselor, which in the counselor I'm speaking of is, you can call it your quantum field, you can call it God. That's it. That's the one thing that I listen to is the counselor, which is God, which is the creator. I don't hear anyone else. So the creator just tells me to be the example of why they would want to be here. I can't convince anybody to be here. I can't convince you to walk through this door, to walk out the door, to stay home, to come out, to play. I can't do any of that. I can only just say, hey, this is what it would be like. Okay? I'm the representation of what it would be like to be free. It doesn't mean I'm free in a bad way. It doesn't mean I go out with bad intention. I don't have bad intention. I have godly intention because I listen only to the creator, to the counselor that counsels me. So if I can make someone, which it's not really I'm handcuffing anyone, it's just that you realize that what you entertain, you train in your mind. See, so you know, it's just like saying like your willful attention. So what do you put your attention on? Well, okay, if someone's attention is on me, they're gonna see only representation of what they need to see in order to make them better. I'm not gonna give anyone reasons to go to jail. I'm gonna give you, not even reasons to go to the altar because I don't believe in it like that. I believe in reasons to serve though. So I'm gonna give you reasons to serve based upon my example. So me seeing it from all these individuals that were close to me, I've been to funerals, like I told you about my grandmother's funeral, I did a eulogy. I don't cry at a funeral because I don't believe anyone dies. I believe in a transference of energy. I don't believe anyone dying though, because I don't believe anyone's taking it from here. I feel like everyone is going from one place to the next place. So if I don't actually have any belief in death of a spiritual sense, yes, your physical vessel has to go somewhere. I get that. But as far as energy-wise, no. I just think you have to have patterns downloaded, and you have to go through the life process to get the tools so that you can carry over to the gate. And then the gate opens up in terms of consciousness, space, and then now you're in a different realm. That's what I believe. So because my beliefs were always different, I always look at people who are struggling, and you can't ask them why they're struggling. They don't know. They don't have the answer. They don't have the answer as to why they're feeling like this.
Right.
So once I started to understand how my mind and my body works and how it's connected and what it needs, I just said, well, what if you always had whatever you needed? Then how would you feel? And so my only goal was, whatever you need, just tell me what you need. and then the counselor tells me what I need.
Yeah.
And then that's all I do. I say, what do you need? Some days I might need to go play basketball. Some days I might need to go to the library and go read a book. Some days I might need to go to record for 6 hours and teach about things on the whiteboard. Some days I might need to go make phone calls about raising capital for whatever I feel like I need to do. I have to ask the question of what do I need, and it gives me peace of mind. It tells me these instructions and it says do it now.
Yeah.
And I think my only job is to listen to do it now. So seeing it from the outside in, you have to be like not directly inside of it, because if you put yourself inside of it, you think it's your responsibility. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look at it from that perspective. But if somebody's hanging off of a cliff or inside of a burning building, well, I not take off my, throw my bag down and go run and go save them. Yeah, I'm gonna go run and go save them. But after I run and save you, I don't run in the way and say, no, there's nothing for me to do,
Mm-hmm.
except tell you to go towards the counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go to the outside, they're gonna say, you need to do this, you need to take this pill. They have my mom on like the lithium stuff and
Yeah.
Dad was on all this stuff. I'm like, why are y'all taking all this stuff, man? Like,
Yeah.
because this is gonna also cause an imbalance. Now, if that's what you believe in, that's gonna heal you, then fine. I don't believe it's gonna heal you. I don't believe in any way, shape, or form a person can tell me what the creator within me already knows. I don't believe that the person's that smart. I don't think anybody's that smart.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's definitely, resounding evidence now with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work that
Yeah.
shows that we create the pharmacy within, so we don't need
Mhm.
something external of us to create the pharmacy of chemicals that, bring us joy and happiness and healing and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And, for those who do, like, we have done retreats. I've had clients host retreats that were around mental health, and like 99% of everybody was on medication, and it was like this thing. I never even heard of this before. I actually just started using it because this is apparently like the new lingo of like being medicated or unmedicated. And the thing that I remember when I was in my psychiatrist's office, when I was on medication, and I remember saying, I just want to know what it's like to be normal. And he couldn't even explain to me what normal was.
No.
All that he could say was, the medication is just there to help balance out what is imbalanced in your brain chemistry. And ultimately, like, you're still gonna have emotions. They're still gonna be there. You'll still have to, deal with them, but they're not gonna be as strong as they would be if you were not on medication. And after, I was not consistent with my medications at all. I was very inconsistent, and so I had an idea of what to expect getting off of them cold turkey, because I was already kind of going on and going off of them. So I knew that there was going to be a roller coaster, and I was prepared for that, and I just knew to stand my ground within myself, and that I would be able to navigate this, not necessarily ignore it, but just know that it's there. I'm not going to react to it. When things come up, I know that that's just part of it, and I would have, there would be this period of time, maybe a couple weeks, where I was like, I'm great, I feel really good, and then it would dive down, and then it was like, all right, how do I create harmony inside of me? And sometimes I leaned more heavily into working out. I leaned more heavily into conversations with friends. I leaned more heavily into relationships. I leaned more heavily into my dog and doing things that bring me joy, because I would find myself in this, it was a wild roller coaster ride. And I would say that I still have moments. they're not as intense as they used to be. And I think part of the reason why things do come up is because I have been going through Fidelis's detox program. And so that does, when you detox, it does bring it out back into your bloodstream, and so you do re-experience it, and then you have to express it out. And that's why I think it can be so useful and helpful as a tool to give people a space to allow that energy to be expressed out, even if it's just a visual, and allow yourself to ride the wave. Because otherwise it's just this, it's almost like this fantasy that never gets fulfilled, and then you wonder what if, you know, what if like that was, you know, this thing that, you know, I could have done and I didn't do. But I think ultimately, like, creating the space, and like, I don't advise doing it honestly with somebody who is a licensed professional. I actually advise doing it with somebody who's an experienced professional, somebody who has gone through it and they do understand how to be disciplined within that, because you can take it really far. But I was actually expressing to you how grateful I am with how disciplined I've become over, you know, my emotions and how I react or respond to things. Because some of the things that people do, and this comes up in relationships pretty commonly, is somebody who is having a hard time navigating their emotions and their psyche, they go out into the world and they do destructive things. And that can be like, you know, abuse of alcohol or drugs. That can be over sexualization. That could be, you know, you might be with one person, but you might be addicted to porn, or you go out into the world and you have sex with a lot of people. That could be overeating or restrictive eating. That can be over shopping and spending. It can be all of the above, oversleeping. And we tend to do this because we have this energy that needs to go somewhere. And I'm really grateful that I have not leaned into massively destructive behaviors like I used to, where I would lash out, I would self-harm, I would drink, I would overeat. I now have the discipline within myself, because I've been through it so many times, that it's now like, that doesn't bring me any satisfaction out of this experience. It actually makes me feel worse. And so I did have a day yesterday where I was not emotionally like even available for myself. I was very disconnected with myself. I was figuring this out, and I didn't even think to tell you that I am having a hard time in my head. And I think that's important to have like dialogue about, you know, when those things come up, or just even continuously throughout the relationship, like, you know, checking in with one another, like, how's your head, how's your heart, how are you feeling in your body, doing like a self-love exam, you know. And also, like, as somebody who struggles with something, whether you have cancer, you have diabetes, or you have depression or anxiety, whatever it is, I think it's really important and actually a responsibility to communicate when you're having a good day or a bad day, when you are struggling or you're feeling good. Because the more that you bring light to it, you can see what's working, what's not working. And sometimes you just need to like bounce that off of somebody. And, you know, I've definitely had times where my thoughts are in the gutter. Like, I don't know how to like turn this ship around. And to have somebody, I think, who doesn't deal with that, I think it's really helpful to be able to go somebody who is very neutral and is like, okay, this is how I'm seeing things from the whole perspective. And I think that you're being, not that your feelings are invalid, because we all have feelings and we're entitled to them. But I think having somebody who is very neutral, who is very level-headed and very emotionally grounded, and can give insight into what we're thinking or mirror it back to us, and we can think and we can see it for what it is, oh, okay, there is no truth or validity to this. You know, I'm not ugly like I think I am. I'm not fat. I'm not lazy. I'm not unsuccessful. I'm not whatever it is, right? Because these are things that people think, or I'm not going to lose my job, or I'm not going to lose my client, or we're not going to be poor and homeless again. You know, those were things that I thought about a lot. But it does help to, talk it out. And so I think there really needs to be a dialogue between people.
You have to have a level of transparency, but the transparency can only come if you have vulnerability. So I think I talked about this yesterday. There's a post, the video I just did on this, but I believe it's 4 things. I believe it's 4 levels, and I believe it starts with vulnerability, to be able to say, I messed up, because nobody else messed up. It's only you that messed up. So you have to be able to, first of all, be vulnerable enough to say, I messed up. And I forgive myself for messing up. There's no one else that you can blame for how you feel. You have to blame yourself for how you feel, because you did not affirm how you felt. And that's the first key. So vulnerability. The second key is going to be transparency, because if you're not transparent, you're not honest with yourself, you can't actually fix a problem that you never admitted to having in the first place. And that's why you have got to be transparent, first and foremost with yourself, because the mirror is going to be look in the mirror at your own self and then say to yourself, okay, I've been dealing with this. This is my issue. I have to figure out how to be honest with myself enough to be able to say, this is what I need. And then that's it. And then if you have a partner, spouse, whatever you have, they have to know too, because you can't just have somebody walk around blindly and you in here responding in a certain type of way. If they're not saying I'm the most experienced in everything, but I am experienced enough to know when someone's going through something, okay, look, you work it out over there with the counselor between you, I'm going to sleep. Because I'm not going to put myself up in that. I'm not going to sit up under you and say, is everything okay? I asked you one time. That's your one time. You didn't want to be transparent with me, you're going to have to go work it out with the counselor. Because the counselor sent me here to help you. I'm obviously here helping you. But what some people want to do is they want to hide in the cave because they're not ready to change. They're not ready to admit something, they're ready to leave something, they're not ready to change. And then after you do that, it's authenticity. And what is authenticity? It's just, to me, the word authenticity is just unconditional love. Meaning I'm not asking for permission to be myself anymore. I'm just actually waking up in the morning saying, I'm grateful. Hey, like, if I got 2 feet, 2 hands, whatever I got, I'm saying I'm grateful for whatever I got. And I'm gonna use it to the best of my ability to do what I came here to do. And that's just to serve other people. I'm using it to the best of my ability. It does not mean that I come in here and I devalue myself. That's not what that means. It just means that I come in here and I actually raise my value up to whatever ends that I want to obtain. And that's authenticity. So, and then the last one is intimacy. If you don't even have any intimacy with yourself, if you don't even know who you are, what do you actually like? Do you know what you like? I remember what you said something. As far as where it goes to conversation, if it goes to physicality, sexuality, you didn't even have like toys or anything. I went and got you we went and drove to some place so I could get you a vibration toy. I don't need it. I'm like, you need a vibrator toy, like here. Most women have. I'm like, here, go look in the mirror and analyze yourself. Like, you have parts that I don't have. You have parts. You should know what those parts do. You should know what those parts look like, feel like. What do you actually like? Like, somebody probably told you what they like, and you probably, you're saying with your girlfriends and whoever, like, what do you like? I don't care. Like, don't come tell me what your girl. I don't give a fuck about your girlfriend. I care about what you like. So you need to go up there to examine yourself. So you have those 4 parts. And intimacy, it's not always going to be a sexual thing. It's just going to be an intimate thing where you stop yourself. You have the self-care I can have intimacy when I'm training my body, when I'm running, when I'm reading. It just make some time to actually get to know who you really are. And I believe the biggest thing is meditation. So you can have visualization, you can have imagination, you can use masturbation, whatever you want to do. But I believe the word meditation, what Dr. Joe says, it means to become familiar with. Okay, so if I'm going to become familiar with myself, I should probably sit still, be still, and know that I am what I am, and who I am, and whose I am. And if I can understand that, then I'm good. Because I think the whole issue is a lack of surrendering. No one wants to actually surrender. If you just stopped what you were doing and just said, okay, whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
However you want me to however you want to use me to serve everybody else, then I'm here for it, and I'm willing to do it, and I'm not gonna fight you on it. The fight is there's a war, but the war isn't a war at all. The war is already won. Every book tells you the war is already won, the battle's already won. You see, and I think people are misinterpreting all these books and scriptures and Bibles. Look, I don't believe in all the characters of Bibles and ancient texts. I think it's only a book about human anatomy, and it's just written in code. And if I can understand my own human anatomy, I never again have a problem. If I look at this, okay, so here, our company is called the Alkalign Lifestyle. We have two sides to this. It's alkaline on one side, alignment on the opposite side. Okay, so if I'm energized, all right, then I'm already good if I'm energized, because I'm gonna be great if I'm energized. That means I'm going towards alkalinity. Then you have acidity, which is on the opposite side. If I'm neutral, I'm gonna be right here in the center, but I need to be slightly alkaline, because this means I'm gonna be energized. If I don't have any energy, I don't see the world the same. Just imagine if you walk outside and you're tired and you haven't gotten any sleep, you haven't gotten to go to reconnect to the Creator overnight. You're gonna see everything in the perception of it's awful. My day is bad, my life is bad, this is bad. People work themselves into situations like this.
Yeah.
And so that already on one side is off. So then you have the second side, which is the alignment. You have energy wheels, but you have your chakras aligned to energy wheels. Every part of your body is going to have an effect of some kind. And if you start to look at yourself, you'll see the part that you're focused on, hyper focused on, whichever level of chakra it is: ankles, knees, genitals, digestive system, intestines, the gut, heart, throat, third eye, and your crown. Okay, so if your head's hurting, you gotta check what you're thinking. If your throat's hurting, check what you're not saying. Not what you're saying per se, but what you're not saying, because that's gonna be the blockage. Heart, are you angry? Who are you mad at? Are you shameful? Are you feeling guilty? And gut, that's an obvious one, because obviously you're gonna be putting things inside your stomach that you shouldn't be putting in. Most likely alcohol, bad food, fast food, these things.
Overeating.
But that's probably one of the biggest things, because that's gonna be a pleasureful response. So people are gonna do it because they're attempting to medicate themselves to feel better. So I'm just gonna keep eating. And then digestion, which is gonna be pretty much the first three are all linked to each other, because you can't digest food. First of all, that's not food. Most of the food that you're seeing out here nowadays is not food. And so that's going to be another issue. And then not only your genitals, you can't even activate intimacy, physical intimacy, because you can't connect from the top to the bottom anymore. And so then your knees are going to start to become what? Your feet are going to become swelled up. Your knees are going to start hurting. You can't walk down the steps. It has a hindrance in every section on both sides. And it all begins from what side are you looking at everything on? You have an alkalized side and an acidic side. That's where it starts. If I always walk outside and I say, I'm always looking at life from a viewpoint of acidity, I'm always gonna find something wrong with my life. Because that's just how it works. That's what my input has been this entire time. If I walk outside though, and I have an alkalized side of how life works, my battery is charged. Oh, this is an opportunity. I have an opportunity today. So I look at it from opportunity, or you can look at it from not adversity, but say burden. So when I woke up this morning, is it a burden for me to be here? Or if I woke up this morning, is it an opportunity for me to be here to do something great? And people have the option to do this. But because they did not understand that they were always doing it, that the universe never told them no. It never tells you no. It tells you yes. But you have to actually be the person that is intentional and specific about what it is that you're asking for. Because I'm telling you, you always get what you're asking for.
Yeah.
I just don't know if people actually know what they're asking for.
Yeah. You hit on a couple of things that I thought are very important. One is, and as we dive into the next couple phases or parts of this podcast, this discussion is, moving into what to do if your partner experiences suicidal ideations, and do you attempt to save your partner from their suicidal thoughts and attempts. And one of the things that you hit on, as you were saying, like, you offer the opportunity for the person to speak on what is going on in their head and their heart. And after that, you realize it's not your responsibility to make the person feel good. It's not your responsibility to fix the person's problems, whether, even if it's just, a simple perspective shift. You're not responsible for it. They are. And I see this very commonly in relationships, particularly where there is somebody who struggles with their mental health and they play the victim. And I am guilty as charged for doing it. And, I did this and I had people do it to me, where it's like, woe is me for this thing. And I need attention for it. I need you to solve my problem. I need you to make me feel better. And it's not your responsibility at all. It is every bit of the one who does have the mental health struggles to come forth and say, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, can you help me navigate? And you know what? There are couples. There are just not even just couples, but there are people out there in general who don't even want to go there. Right? There's people who are affected directly because it's coming through them. And then there are people who are affected because they're on the outside and they don't even know what to do. They don't feel comfortable with it. It is very taboo in a lot of cultures of people. I would say every one of them, and I've listened to different groups of people, whether it was Asian or Mexican or African American. To be honest, it is just as much taboo to talk about in Caucasian families and households as it is any other one. There is no difference. The difference does come down to whether there is dialogue, because this is such a stigmatized topic that nobody wants to talk about, even though it is becoming more popular to talk about. I see it no different than if somebody had cancer. We pity people that have cancer. We pity people the most when they have cancer or when they're pregnant. Those are like the two times that we pity people. Pregnant or with cancer. And then, but it's no different from any other stage of health, right? It is, depression, I've learned, is just perpetuating thoughts that we have, and we're reaffirming those thoughts with our emotions and our behaviors. And the thing is yes, you can have grown up in an environment that influenced negative thinking about yourself. You can have inherited those patterns genetically, but ultimately you're not a victim of it. And I realized last night when I was laying in bed and having this whole thing play out, I realized that my mother's younger brother was about my age when he took his life.
Yeah.
He shot himself in my grandparents' basement. This is a story that I'm told, that he shot himself in my grandparents' basement, and my grandmother was holding his head in her hands, and he died. And that kind of was a catalyst for her her Parkinson's disease and her decline in her health. That was something that she carried for a very long time. And then she was also, just abused by her father, as a kid. So she just was carrying around a lot. So all of these different things we can inherit from our relatives.
Yeah.
That's just part of patterning and what gets handed down. And that's why I think it's so important as people who are kind of like the shapeshifters of their gene pool to say, like, okay, this is a pattern. I'm not going to repeat it and hand this down to the next set of people in this lineage. I'm going to do something about it, right? So you do have people that are paving a different path for their families, and they're saying, they're taking matters into their own hands. They're deciding, I'm not going to be a medicated person. I'm not going to be an obese person. I'm not going to, partake in this disease. I am going to reprogram myself so that when I do have kids, they get a different, slate. They get a different gene pool than what I had or you had. And so that it's been very important to me to clean up myself internally, so that, because I did not want to hand that down to somebody else. And I'm not in control of it per se, but I definitely have an influence.
Yeah.
We all have an influence. And so, but going back to the victimization, it is, in my opinion, it is wrong and deceitful for somebody who has, whether it's cancer or diabetes or depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, ADD, ADHD, I don't care what it is, you're not a victim.
Yeah.
So to wear the victim cloak is being deceitful to people, and it's unfair and it's cruel. Yeah. And I went through a couple years of torment from a partner who also had mental health issues, and my really was, I think, almost like ignited from that relationship. But I realized that was just like, that was really unfair and cruel. And when I found myself repeating that pattern, because it was a learned behavior, I realized this is really cruel. And this is not okay. Nobody deserves this just because I'm in mental pain, right? So it is ultimately my responsibility to take care of it. And so I think there's a lot of people that are walking around feeling like they're a victim to their disease, and they're really in a place of being, a superhero.
It's not a healthy thing to enable anyone, because you don't give them the opportunity to elevate themselves. So for instance, look, like I understand some people need help to cross the bridge. I get that. But for the best individuals to become their best, you have to let them figure out how to cross the bridge. And they have to be able to say to themselves, how do I cross the bridge? They're not gonna come out and look at you and say, they're gonna do like this and put their hands up and say, how do I cross the bridge? Just turn back and ask yourself how to do it. I can help you, but I can't give you the answer. Every time, if you have somebody constantly giving you the answer, then what did you learn how to do? Every time you have a problem, you only went to go seek somebody to solve your problem. You didn't ever empower yourself to do it. And so you look at somebody who plays a victim, they're not acting as a creator. But every autoimmune disease that you get is created by yourself. That's why it's called autoimmune disease, because it's autonomic nervous system that you have, that you turn off, that you disable. You did that. Nobody did it for you. Your post-traumatic stress did not do that. You caused that within your body based upon your level of perception. So if you walked around and you were just neutral all the time, nothing could get you too high or too low, right? If you looked at everything as there's no devil, okay? There's no real Satan. There's only your alkalinity and acidity. So what? There's no being with some red horns and a tail and some fire. It's not like that. It's literally the fire that you're creating inside your own head. It's good. It's nothing to do with any of that. That's what I believe. Whether anybody wants to, I don't care. I'm just telling you that I never disempowered myself by giving somebody else some sort of power over me. That's why I'm never gonna go to a doctor that asks me, can I be healthy today? I don't need y'all to tell me. I don't need anyone to come tell me, can I be healthy? Can I be wealthy? Can I be happy? There's no point. I only have to go to the counselor of all there is and affirm to it, and it basically mirrors it in my 3D reality. So all of these diseases that people cause themselves, if they never actually asked themselves, remember I showed you on the, I think you guys showed me this Instagram page with this lady, and she was a MD, but she had diabetes. And I was like, wait, so you have the condition, but you're supposed to be the MD, so you're supposed to be the doctor of what? You didn't solve anything.
I think I remember this.
And I was like, that doesn't make sense. You can't be the doctor of what? How to manage having something that you already have? I want the solution. So obviously I can't come to you and there was like 100,000 followers and some 400,000. No, hey, I'm good. Is this how you're coming down to people now? You're not actually gonna go to people to ask them what's the solution? Can I, you know, can you show me how to do it? They don't know how to do it. So they can't show you anything. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's just a bunch of enabling. You walk outside and it's like people get mad at you for calling them fat. Are you fat? Because I showed you that JFK speech, 1962. All right, yeah, he's talking about the kids. He's talking about how embarrassing it is for you to have fat kids. And he's saying you have to instill a program. If y'all look up, I think it was La Sierra High School or something like that, physical education program. And I was telling you, they gotta do push-ups, gotta do pull-ups, gotta be able to run a mile in 7.5 minutes. Where did that go? Because now people can't even run a mile, period. They can't even run a mile, okay, if it's 20 minutes, they can't run it at all. They don't even sprint. So who told you that this is okay for you to behave like that? Who told you that you're okay to walk around with your belly out and you're okay to have no energy? It's not okay.
Yeah.
And so I think if you start to look at people and you don't not hold them accountable, you have to hold them accountable. If you really care about somebody, you really love somebody, you hold them accountable. Look, you may have bad days, and I tell you what, I come to you and I say, yeah, okay, well, you're just gonna have to work it out. And you're gonna have to do hard things. And you're gonna have to go harder and do hard things. I'm not gonna do them for you. I'm not gonna pick up your weight every day when you have to work out for 15 minutes. I'm not gonna do it.
Full disclaimer. We do work out for 15 minutes.
We work out for 15 minutes every day.
But we do other things as well that require a lot of energy, exertion, like walking everywhere that we go.
That's right.
So
car, no. You got to be able to get up. You got to be able to do some movement, and you got to be able to move yourself. And I'm not gonna sit there and pull you out of bed. If I get up early, I told you I'm not gonna tap you on the shoulder and no. You got to start to look at yourself and say, am I wasting my days? Are my days fulfilled? I'm not gonna be the person that's responsible for it. But I'm not gonna hate your guts. But I'm not gonna stop my own example because of the interference that I'm getting from somebody who's destructive towards himself. That's on you.
Yeah, I mean, it is really important to have those boundaries as somebody who is dealing with somebody who has mental health issues, is to say, you know, like, these are my boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for you, I love you, I support you however I can.
Yeah.
But you are not more important to me than I am to me. And
that's right.
That is really important. And I found myself a lot of the times bending over backwards for people, having this massive people-pleasing disease.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when somebody is like threatening me with their life, you feel responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we actually talked about this a couple days ago,
mm-hmm.
but where my younger brother was in a relationship with somebody who was basically doing to him what I've experienced in relationships and what I've also done in relationships, and that is to threaten suicide or, you know, threaten self-harm to get somebody's attention. And I remember you said something that was actually rather surprising, because it's not the advice that I gave him. The advice that I gave him was run. It was more so, I think you need to leave the relationship because she's only going to continue to do it, and it's not healthy for you, it's not fair to you, and, you know, ultimately she's, you know, because I've been on that side, I understand what's going on. And sometimes we need to have like a hard experience to let us know like that's not acceptable behavior. But you actually said something very surprising. Can you share that with the audience of how you expressed that you felt that the situation should have been handled?
Okay, well look, because I'll give you an example. For example, that night, what was it, September 19th, I think, something like that, 2013. I remember it was Floyd Mayweather fighting. I was at my good friend
Pacquiao. Was it Pacquiao?
No, it wasn't Pac-Man at that time. It was somebody else, but it was like a main event thing, and I was at my friend, his partner at the time, her brother-in-law's place. And I remember coming back, the fight was over like 11 something on our time, and because we were in Arizona. And I remember staying out on the balcony we're talking about relationships, because he had just got married. And I'm talking about my relationship, he's talking about his relationship. We were just loving it, just enjoying the time. And when I come back, I was gonna go home because I was tired, because I was in Gilbert and you were in Scottsdale. It's far, it's 2:00. I'm gonna go sleep. But I'm like, okay, hey, it's okay. It's Saturday. I can go spend the rest of the weekend. I can head over that way. And so I drove down the highway. I drove over there to come meet you. When I get there, you're in some bad way. And somehow I walked into it. Like I walked into like some furnace or some fire, and I don't know what's going on. Like I thought it was like a joke, like somebody's playing a joke. Like I'm not sure what's going on, but something's going on. So I'm like, okay, there's too much attitude in a negative way. I'm gonna head back. I should have just went back home. That's fine. I'm walking out. As I'm walking out the door, something says, just give it a moment. Just stay a moment. Just stay a while, because you're gonna need to stay a while. And I'm like, no, I'm out. I've grabbed my keys. My Cadillac dealers park. I'm heading out. I turn back around and I walk back into the house. It's quiet. There's nobody there. So okay, now it's eerily quiet. And why is it quiet? It was just like a firestorm a moment ago. And I walk back to the kitchen and I'm like, I see the bottle of the pill that I just saw, because I just opened the cabinet. I was looking for a snack. I just opened the cabinet. This thing was full. Where the rest of this pill? So I take it and I walk into your room, and I just
No, that's not how it happened.
Does it happen?
No. No. I do remember you were getting ready to leave.
I was.
And I was in bed. And
Okay,
I remember you went back into the kitchen. You were sitting on the countertop.
I was sitting on the countertop, yeah.
Yeah. And I I came in and I believe I went into the cabinet and I grabbed the bottle. And I don't remember this exactly, but I remember I walked up to you and I told you what I did.
Yeah.
I think, and then somewhere in there, like you knew that you saw the bottle and the bottle was empty.
Yes, yes. So that's clarification. But yes, I did see it and it was empty, and rather it was full. And then you clarified that you were the one that did it. And so literally, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I actually don't know what to do at this moment in time. So my first idea is always to call my sister, because she's usually awake at this moment in time, even though she's on the East Coast. It doesn't matter what time it is, she's usually awake, because that's what you get when you have an MD trained sister. She's on rotation somewhere, or she's on call somewhere, so she's usually awake at intervals at nighttime. So I call my sister and she says she needs to go to the hospital now. What are you calling me for? And she's like, go now. I just hang up in my face. Okay, all right, got it. Okay, so go back into the room. You need to come with me now. I don't know what else, but you need to come with me right now. Okay, so
you were very calm.
Yeah, because you can't be too high or too low at this moment in time. I'm just listening. I have to listen as closely and intentionally as possible, because now something is a large scale. It's really important at this moment in time that I pay attention.
Yeah.
So, okay, what? I get you there. They give you charcoal. They basically get everything, all your toxins at that moment in time out of you. But then they take you to the little psych ward place for a week's time. So I'm at your place, staying at your place.
You totally just missed the fact that you were with me for like a good 12 hours.
Yeah, I
didn't get any sleep.
Yeah, I had, mind you, I came from Gilbert, from my friend's brother-in-law's house. I didn't go to bed. So I think your brothers and your father came to relieve me at the time. I was upset because I didn't want to leave, but I know I needed to go to sleep. Your younger brother, he was like, look, hey, it's okay. Because I was upset, but I understood, because I needed to go to rest myself. I did spend the rest of the week because Jade wasn't home, your dog at the time, but it's only your dog. But I got to take care of her. And then I was actually about to make my way out of town. So I just said, well, until you get back, I'm going to serve until you get back. But then once you get back, you have to go to serve yourself. So in my opinion, you don't say run. That you don't do that, because if there's someone hanging off of a cliff, I don't turn my shoulder or turn my nose up at them and let them fall off the cliff. They need help. I'm connected to everyone in this realm. You do not act like my life is worth more than someone else's life. That's not how it works. You've heard the stories of like the Titanic, like the millionaires and that gave up their seats on the lifeboat, to young people that were there. Like you have to understand it's bigger than you. You have to look at it from that realm. So yes, I don't believe that he should have just went and said, hey, you got to figure it out. There's reasons why she's like that. There's reasons why you were like that. As I described to you, I believe they were all chemical.
Yeah. And I think that where I was coming from, because I was finally at a point of not enabling people to take advantage of you or hurt you or even do the same to themselves. And I understood how, addictive behaviors work and how, so I was coming from the place of like, I used to try to be the person to save everybody was, what I was trying to go out and do. I wanted to save every animal. I wanted to save every human. And I realized it wasn't possible.
That's right.
And so that's really the place that I was coming from. But I understand where you're coming from as well, as if you were really struggling through something, would you want somebody to just let you fall off the cliff, or would you, make an effort to genuinely attempt to help the person, even if it's getting them in touch with, some tools or resources to help them shift their minds around. And the mind can be a very wondrous place, and it can be a really scary place depending on how you make it. And you've given me a lot of tools to help me make it a much more wondrous place. So I definitely have more days where I won't say that I don't struggle with anxiety, but I definitely don't struggle with the depression nearly as much or anywhere near as much as I used to. Anxiety, yes. You're growing a business, you're growing yourself, like there's definitely things that like you have to work through, and I think entrepreneurship is a great means for somebody to learn about themselves and grow. But there's definitely days where I deliberately, like, no matter how difficult yesterday was, today I'm gonna make it an amazing day. And that ultimately is a choice that I'm aware of. And like I said, you've given me tools to be able to navigate that much better. So something that I want to segue into is ways in which we keep our minds healthy. And I think this can be really helpful for people who are looking for tools and resources to build a healthier state of mind and just build a healthier mind in general.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you do to keep your mind healthy?
Oh, it's easy for me. I have to learn. I have a teacher for a mom. So my mom tells me that the one rule that you can't get away from is being a lifelong learner. And I understand it because the earth's always moving, so I need to be moving. But my brain needs to be downloading information because at the moment I think I know something, it's gonna change. That's the only real law that I look into my mirrors of myself and I say, what is the only truth that is the real truth? It's everything is changing constantly. It's never staying the same, ever. It's always changing. So if I can always change with it, I don't look at change as a bad thing. And so that's the first thing is I'm learning something, whether I'm reading it, whether I'm listening to it. I love my audiobooks. So I just spend a lot of time downloading information so I can understand myself and how things work. And then I have leisure activity. I have to move my body. So, you'll see me head to the library or something. I'll walk and I have my backpack with a huge bowl in it because my basketball is in there. I love to play basketball. So I'm gonna go find some sort of park, some sort of place where I can go shoot, go find a game. I'm gonna go find something so I can go do just with myself. And I also teach myself different things. So as you've seen, I've been left-handed for the last 5 years. I incorporate doing things and learning a different way inside of my brain so I can connect both sides of my brain. So this, what I've been doing, brushing my teeth with my left hand, writing my name with my left hand, it's helped me a lot because I was told I was right-handed, but I'm like, no, I'm both-handed. So I just didn't use it. Right. So that was pretty much it. So I started, and then that can go back to learning, but really, I think the best thing I can tell anyone, if they have one thing that they can do, is really just sit still and meditate with yourself for really just however much time that you need to do. I sometimes take 1 hour, 2 hours, however long I need to sit with myself. I'm gonna sit so I can understand what am I thinking and why am I thinking that, and ask yourself why you're thinking that and what side are you on. But you have to be neutral. If I'm neutral, then I'm good. So I can see from both sides of a spectrum. And changing our food dramatically helped me. Staying hydrated changed me because that's the energy that gets me to think those positive thoughts because my charge is high. So if I keep my charge high, I go to bed on time, I sleep with the circadian rhythm now, I make sure it's non-negotiable for me to get my sleep at the time I need to get my sleep. So sleeping is big for mental anything. Because if you don't sleep, you can't save the information that you learned all throughout the entire day. You have to be able to save it. So sleeping is important. My food is important. My water is exceptionally important. Grounding is important because if I don't ground myself, again, I feel like I'm in quicksand from the inside out. So if I can keep myself grounded, as much throughout the day as I possibly can, not disconnect myself from the planet, and just try to do whatever I can to stay in tune with nature, how it works, then I'm pretty much gonna be in a good space. But I think the one key, besides meditation, that's helped me, just changing my oil through detoxification helped me, but really I think it was when my mentee had told me about my 12 mineral cell salt. That's the one thing I think that changed my mind more, because everyone has 12 systems in their human body, but they don't necessarily eat enough foods that give you the 12 mineral salts. That's an old thing. Dr. Schussler did this like 1880s or 1890s, a German physicist that did this. He created this so long ago, but nobody knows about it. So if you just understand to get 12 mineral cell salt, there's details to it. I provide blogs and things so people can learn about it, Chinese body clock, stuff like that. But the 12 mineral salts, meditation, that's ideal. That's why I added it to my formula too, because it had to be the most important thing, because people aren't getting enough to balance out their chemicals. But that's it. Being neutral, both sides, positive, negative, whatever you want to call it, acidic, alkaline, whatever you want to call it. But you need to be on the alkaline side, because your battery should be charged, not dying constantly. You're already dying. You just got to slow down the process. So, just find time for pleasurable activities that you like to do, learn new skills, new sports, download new information. Your brain is so big and vast, it can do anything and process anything at any moment in time. Give it something new and new environments to go to. I think that'll really change people.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Learning is a big one, and I've noticed that when I'm not learning, I feel like I'm declining, and it does affect my my mental well-being. And so learning is just like something that we naturally actually enjoy doing. And I didn't enjoy learning the way that I learned in high school and even college, but when I started learning just on my own, I found it really fun and challenging, and like those are things that actually makes your brain happy.
That's right.
Even look at animals, look at like the domestic dog, right? Our dogs love learning, and if we're not doing something to mentally stimulate, they get depressed too.
That's right.
Sleep is a huge one, and I used to be an insomniac. This was actually before I got into the restaurant industry. This was actually my first year of college. I didn't have a regular schedule. I tried to create a regular schedule. I was like, it'll be great. I'll just mimic the schedule I have in high school and apply it to college. And let me tell you, when you don't have your parents to report to, at least immediately, until they find out what your grades are, it's really easy to lose that discipline, right? So I was very nocturnal. It was terrible for my well-being, and I'm fortunate and grateful that I was able to turn it around at some point within a year, but it was a huge struggle. So when I finally did get that turnaround, that made a huge difference. But also, even now, like, and you are right, like when I had a serving job and I was just up late, right? And I would work till 10, sometimes 11 o'clock at night, wouldn't get home until 11 or 12, and then I'm winding down. I don't go to bed till 1, and then I need a rest because I just pulled a double, or I had a long shift, or whatever it was. I need to rest, and I'm not getting up till 10, 11 o'clock. And so having, work that keeps you up late does have a massive impact on people's mental health. So that's really important to consider when you are picking, a service in which you help people in the world. Like, just be mindful of your lifestyle, because that'll make a huge difference in how you show up. And sleeping, aligning with the natural circadian rhythms of the universe has made a huge dramatic impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that allows you to get deep restful sleep, right? So when you're well rested, you feel like, wow, I feel amazing. Well, because everything got to restore itself.
That's right.
You know, eating what you eat. I used to eat very like sugary foods. I loved alcohol. I loved, you know, all sorts of things that were not good for me. It was affecting my gut health, which was in turn affecting my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And certain foods that were causing a huge spike in dopamine and then causing a crash, and then I would feel erratic. And then massive amounts of caffeine. And I still, like, I enjoy something here or there. I'm not dependent or addicted to. I'm not dependent on or addicted to anything like I used to be. Like I can choose whether I want to have a cup of coffee or not. It's very rare that I do. I can choose whether I want to have matcha if I want to or not. I'm not addicted to it. I have the discipline over it. And even same with like chocolate. Chocolate has caffeine in it, right?
Yeah.
And chocolate has been an addictive food for me. And then it just kind of became like a thing, right? Like I can have it or not have it. But even healthy food, I have found where I was abusing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so just by creating a healthy relationship with food,
mm-hmm.
And first and foremost, you create a healthier relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that has had an impact on my emotional well-being. And then having purpose in life, knowing that you are of use and that you have gifts that you get to share with the world, gives people a lot of confidence over themselves and a lot of self-love, like they matter. And then movement's huge. I make sure to move. I took it for granted until my body started to show me that I was neglecting it.
Yeah.
And I was having a lot of issues with my physical health, and it was in turn affecting my mental health. And so once I started moving again daily, I started feeling better in my body. I was producing healthy chemicals and just feeling better in my head.
Yeah.
So those things, and connection, those are things that are really important. Connection with myself through meditation, connection through my family, or with my family through, you know, spending time together. And yeah, those things are really important. Not spending so much time on work as much or technology, because that I noticed was really affecting my mental health. So I mean, really, I always find myself coming back to the same answer, and that's just living in alignment with your authentic being.
Yeah. You don't think of yourself in disconnection. So if you're having a bad day, just go help somebody else. It doesn't even, you just go do something for somebody else, and you're instantly gonna raise your vibration that way. You don't have to overthink it. Just start complimenting everybody that you see on the street. Just start to do something better for somebody else. It's a guarantee that you're gonna feel better because you're already connected to everything else.
Is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation before we close?
Just to make sure that you affirm who you are, and don't ask somebody to affirm who you are, because that's, I think, the main, not only like one of the main things, but if you stop asking people to please you or to affirm you, you'll use the voice box that the Creator gave you, and you'll affirm yourself. So speak whatever you really want to create for yourself. Don't ask somebody if it's okay if you do it today or tomorrow or any day or any time. Don't ask for permission from anybody else. Just ask for permission from your own self and your own source of all there is. I believe that's all there is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding space for me and for the people who are listening. whether they're on the spectrum of, you know, wanting to help somebody
Mhm.
or in a relationship with somebody who needs help, or the person who like genuinely is just struggling. I really appreciate you holding space for that conversation to happen.
Love you.
I love you. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of the Alkalign Lifestyle podcast. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and empowering as you continue on your journey towards a healthier and more balanced lifestyle. Remember, small changes can lead to significant transformations in your well-being. Stay tuned for more expert insights and practical tips on living the Alkalign way.